The moment the door opened, Jack Abbott knew something was terribly wrong. Patty Williams stood in the doorway of the yacht's dim cabin, smiling like a ghost from a nightmare that had decided to return for an encore. She looked beautiful in a way that felt unsettling. Her hair was carefully styled, her dress elegant, her lipstick perfect. Anyone who didn't know her history might have thought she was arriving for a romantic evening. Jack knew better. His stomach tightened as the yacht gently rocked against the dark waves surrounding it. Through the small porthole window behind him, nothing existed except endless water and the faint shimmer of moonlight. No land, no lights, no escape. Patty closed the door slowly behind her, the soft click echoing louder than it should have. "Well," she said softly, tilting her head as if admiring a painting. "Hello again, Jack." Jack stood frozen beside the table where he had spent the last several hours trying to piece together what Victor Newman had done. Victor had kidnapped him. Victor had threatened Billy. Victor wanted Chancellor Industries back. But now Patty was here. And suddenly Jack realized something much worse than kidnapping might be happening. "Patty," Jack said cautiously, forcing calm into his voice, "what are you doing here?" She took a few slow steps into the room, her heels tapping softly against the polished wooden floor. "I came to see you," she replied, her tone almost playful. Jack watched her carefully. He knew Patty's history, everyone in Genoa City did. Her obsession with him stretched back decades. It had driven her to dangerous extremes before. Seeing her here dressed like this, smiling like this, it felt less like a coincidence and more like a trap. "Victor sent you," Jack said quietly. Patty's smile widened. "Oh, Jack, you always were so smart." The yacht creaked as a wave rolled beneath it. Jack crossed his arms, trying to steady the rising tension in his chest. Victor had made his move. But why bring Patty? Victor was ruthless, manipulative, calculating, but physical violence had never really been his style. Victor destroyed people emotionally, strategically, publicly, which meant this wasn't about killing Jack. This was about something worse. "You're part of this," Jack said. Patty walked closer until only a few feet separated them. "I prefer to think of it as helping." Jack's jaw tightened. "Helping Victor? Helping you?" The words hung in the air. Jack laughed once under his breath, though there was no humor in it. "Kidnapping me and locking me on a yacht in the middle of nowhere isn't exactly my definition of help." Patty studied him carefully, almost lovingly. "You always were dramatic." Jack turned away from her and walked toward the porthole window. Black water stretched endlessly in every direction. He had already checked the door earlier, locked from the outside. No communication devices. No crew visible. Victor had thought of everything. "Billy won't give him Chancellor," Jack said firmly. But even as he said it, doubt crept in. Billy loved him. Diane loved him. Kyle loved him. Victor knew exactly how to apply pressure. Patty leaned against the edge of the table behind him. "You'd be surprised what people will do for family." Jack turned back toward her sharply. "What does Victor want from you, Patty?" Her eyes sparkled strangely. "Victor wants leverage. And you." She took another step closer. "I want you." Jack exhaled slowly. There it was. It's the real game. Patty had never stopped loving him in her twisted, dangerous way. And Victor knew it. Jack suddenly felt the pieces click together. Victor wasn't just threatening Billy. He was creating a situation. A situation where Jack might be forced to cross a line. A line that could destroy his marriage, his reputation, his life in Genoa City. Victor Newman didn't just want Chancellor Industries. He wanted to ruin Jack Abbott. You're working with him again, Jack said. Patty shrugged lightly. We have a mutual understanding. Jack stepped closer to her, lowering his voice. Victor is using you. Her expression flickered for just a moment. Then the smile returned. Maybe, she said, but at least he brought us together. Jack's patience thinned. Patty, listen to me. Whatever Victor promised you, it's not real. Her eyes hardened. You don't know that. I know Victor Newman's. Silence filled the room. The yacht rocked again. For a moment, Patty simply stared at him. Then she laughed softly. Oh, Jack, you still think you can fix everything. I'm trying to fix this. You can't. Her voice suddenly dropped to something darker. Because Victor has already won. Jack frowned. What do you mean? Patty slowly walked toward the door. Then she stopped and turned back. Victor is watching. Jack's pulse spiked. What? She pointed upward toward the ceiling. Cameras. Jack looked around the room instinctively. Of course. Victor would never stage something like this without watching every second. Security, Jack asked. Patty shook her head slowly. No. Her smile returned again. Evidence. Jack's stomach dropped. Victor wasn't just monitoring him. Victor was recording him. Recording everything. Jack suddenly understood the real danger. Victor didn't need to hurt him. He only needed Jack to make one mistake. One moment of weakness. One action that could destroy his marriage. Jack looked at Patty again. Victor expects something to happen here. Patty tilted her head. Maybe he does. Jack walked closer to her. Then we don't give him what he wants. Her eyes softened. Maybe I want to. Jack felt frustration rising. Patty. She raised a hand. You want to leave this boat, don't you? Jack paused. Yes. She nodded slowly. There is another boat. Jack's eyes narrowed. Where? Hidden behind the yacht. Victor doesn't know about it. Jack didn't fully believe that. Victor knew everything. But desperation crept in anyway. And you can get me to it. Patty stepped close enough that he could smell her perfume. Yes. Hope flickered for the first time since he had been brought here. What do you want in return? Jack asked carefully. Patty stared into his eyes. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I kiss. Jack froze. The room seemed to shrink around him. Victor's cameras. Patty's obsession. The dark water outside. Every piece of this moment had been carefully engineered. Jack imagined Diane's. Her smile. Her trust. Her love. Then he imagined the footage Victor might release. A video of Jack kissing Patty Williams. Maybe more. Victor Newman didn't need to say a word. The image alone could destroy everything. Patty reached out and lightly touched his arm. You kiss me, she said softly. And I help you escape. Jack's chest tightened. Behind the walls of the yacht, unseen cameras were likely recording every heartbeat of this moment. Victor Newman was waiting. Waiting for Jack Abbott to cross the lines. And for the first time since this nightmare began, Jack didn't know what the right choice was. Jack Abbott stood motionless in the dim cabin of the yacht, the soft sway of the boat making the overhead light shift shadows across the walls. Somewhere above him, hidden cameras were almost certainly watching. Victor Newman never staged a move without witnesses. Every breath Jack took felt like it was being recorded for future damage. Patty Williams waited in front of him, her expression hopeful in a way that was both fragile and unsettling. "A kiss," she repeated softly. The words lingered between them like a loaded weapon. Jack felt the weight of it immediately. His mind flashed to Diane Abbott back in Genoa City, Diane's trust, Diane's quiet belief that Jack had finally left behind the chaos that had haunted their lives for years. Victor Newman knew exactly where to strike. Jack looked away from Patty and walked slowly toward the small window again. Black water stretched endlessly in every direction. The yacht was anchored somewhere far from land. Even if he jumped overboard, the cold waves and distance would finish the job Victor had started. Escape depended entirely on Patty. And Patty wanted something simple yet devastating. Jack's hands clenched at his sides as thoughts churned in his mind. Victor was counting on desperation. Victor wanted Jack trapped between two impossible choices. Either stay on the yacht and risk Billy surrendering Chancellor Industries, or cross a line that could shatter his marriage forever. Jack turned back toward Patty. "You're asking me to betray my wife," he said quietly. Patty tilted her head. "No," she replied calmly, "I'm asking you to survive." Her voice softened. "You always made everything so serious, Jack." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "This isn't a game." Patty's eyes flickered with something deeper now, a long memory of love twisted into obsession. "For me it never was." Silence filled the cabin again. The yacht creaked gently against the dark waves. Jack imagined Victor somewhere far away, sitting comfortably in his office with that familiar calculating stare, watching the monitors, waiting for Jack Abbott to do something he could never take back. Victor's revenge had always been psychological. Destroy Jack's reputation. Destroy his family. Destroy his marriage. One video could accomplish all of it. Jack exhaled slowly. "You realize Victor is using you," he said again. Patty smiled faintly. "Maybe." Her gaze drifted toward the ceiling for a moment. "But maybe I'm using him too." Jack studied her expression carefully. "You really think he'll let this end happily for you?" Patty didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked to the small table and gently ran her fingers across the polished surface. "Victor thinks he controls everything," she said quietly. Her eyes lifted back to Jack. "But sometimes people surprise him." Jack's heart beat faster. "What are you saying?" Patty stepped closer again. "I'm saying the boat is real." Jack's jaw tightened. "The escape?" "Yes. And Victor doesn't know about it." Patty's lips curved slightly. "He knows about most things, but not everything." Jack tried to read her face. Patty had always been unpredictable, sometimes brilliant, sometimes terrifyingly unstable. Trusting her could be another trap. But staying here meant Billy might surrender Chancellor. And Jack knew his brother well enough to understand the danger. Billy would give up everything to save him. Victor had designed this situation perfectly. Jack Abbott, the proud businessman who built an empire on integrity, now stood trapped in a moral maze with cameras watching every move. "Where is the boat?" Jack asked finally. Patty glanced toward the door. Behind the yacht, small motorboat, enough fuel to reach the marina before sunrise. Jack's pulse quickened. That meant escape was possible. Real. But Victor's cameras were still there. Watching. Recording. Jack suddenly realized something important. Victor didn't need Jack to sleep with Patty. Victor only needed an image. One moment. One kiss. Something that could be twisted, replayed, broadcast to Genoa City. And Diane would see it. Jack could already imagine the hurt in her eyes. Even if she understood the circumstances. Even if she forgave him. The image would never disappear. Victor's revenge would live forever in that memory. Jack walked closer to Patty again. "You really want this?" he asked. Her voice trembled slightly. "I always wanted you." Jack felt a wave of sadness pass through him. Patty's love had never been healthy. It had been warped by years of obsession, betrayal, and mental scars. But part of her still believed in the fantasy. "You know I don't love you," Jack said gently. Her eyes darkened. "I know." Silence returned again. Outside, wind brushed across the ocean. The yacht rocked slightly harder. Jack looked up toward the ceiling again. Somewhere behind those hidden cameras, Victor Newman was watching. The old war between them had reached another battlefield. And Victor believed he had already won. Jack suddenly smiled faintly. Patty noticed immediately. "What?" she asked. Jack leaned closer, lowering his voice almost to a whisper. "Victor thinks this is about humiliation." Patty blinked. "But it's actually about control." She frowned slightly. "I don't understand." Jack's voice steadied. "Victor wants proof that he can make me betray everything I stand for." Patty studied him carefully. "And can he?" Jack took a long breath. Then he did something Victor Newman never expected. He reached for Patty's hand. The touch surprised her. "Patty," Jack said quietly, "you don't need a kiss to know I care about you." Her expression softened with confusion. "I've always cared," he continued, "even when things went wrong." Patty's breathing slowed. "But a kiss isn't love," Jack said gently. Her voice cracked slightly. "Then why not give me one?" Jack looked directly into her eyes. "Because Victor would own that moment forever." Patty froze. Jack's words slowly settled into her mind. "He's using your feelings," Jack continued, "turning them into a weapon against my family." Patty's hands trembled slightly. "Victor doesn't care about you," Jack said softly. Her eyes shifted toward the ceiling cameras. For the first time since she entered the room, uncertainty crossed her face. "You're smarter than this," Jack told her. The yacht creaked again. Wind howled faintly outside. Patty looked down at their joined hands. "Victor said you'd refuse," she murmured. Jack blinked. "What?" "He said you'd try to manipulate me." Jack almost laughed. "Manipulate you into escaping." Patty slowly lifted her eyes again. "And he said eventually, desperation would make you kiss me anyway." Jack understood the trap instantly. Victor expected him to break eventually. Victor was waiting. Recording. Patty's gaze hardened slightly again. "But maybe he's wrong," she whispered. Jack squeezed her hand gently. "You don't need Victor Newman's approval." The silence stretched long and heavy. Then Patty suddenly turned toward the door. "Come on." Jack blinked in surprise. "What?" "The boat," she said. "You're serious?" She nodded once. "Before I change my mind." Jack moved quickly beside her. But just before opening the door, Patty stopped. She turned back toward him. For a moment, Jack thought she might demand the kiss again. Instead, she smiled faintly. "You always did ruin Victor's plans." Jack allowed himself a small smile. "Someone has too." Patty opened the door. Cold ocean air rushed into the cabins. Somewhere far away, Victor Newman's cameras were still recording. But the moment he had been waiting for never came. Together they stepped quietly into the dark corridor of the yacht. Behind them, the silent cameras watched an empty room where Victor Newman's perfect revenge had just slipped through his fingers.